Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Orthodox Banter with Boyan. I'm the Boyan Question, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have that pertain to Eastern Orthodox theology or practice from my own personal knowledge and experience. And today's question comes from Vuk Grakovic. His question is, I want to make a question about canonizations that are done for political or bad reasons. Are their canonizations valid or not? Thank you for your question, Vuk. I made videos previously about, there's this false belief going around that canonizations are infallible, that if someone is canonized a saint, they're definitely a saint. There's absolutely no reason to doubt that ever. And I've made multiple cases that's not really the case, because we have made erroneous canonizations previously. The most glaring example is the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia literally accidentally canonizing a Lutheran and a Catholic servants to the royal family of Russia. That's like the primary case. However, I also said that in absolute majority of cases, canonizations are fine, and there's literally no reason for us to doubt sainthood. And I would also say that it's not our job as Christians to go on these witch saint hunts. However, sometimes canonizations like this do happen. So are they valid? You probably know that the word valid isn't a thing in Orthodox theology. There are two aspects to this validness. When it comes to God, it's not valid, because canonization is sort of simply affirmation that somebody is a saint, that the church has done its due diligence to show whether a person is a saint or not. And sometimes it makes a mistake, because church is a human divine institution, and very rarely, mind you, the human side sort of prevails and makes a mistake. And I think that all of us watching this have had some decision made by the church that really rubbed in the wrong way. And the primary example of this is, for example, how the church dealt with COVID measures. Regardless what particular church decided, there were always people who were like, they shouldn't have done that. They have fell to the lie. And then you simply go, how that developed in that particular situation. However, that is simply a reaction towards a secular thing, an epidemic, a pandemic. And this is the intra-church decision. So people are like, well, how can church make a mistake? Well, because it can, because it's simply ruled by the same fallible people. And I think there was this saint during the time who was canonized by the Russian Orthodox Church, and what's her name? Anna something, I can't remember her name exactly. She left in corrupt relics with her hands pointing two fingers. And when there was that old believer schism, the Russian Orthodox Church, like the state-run one, simply decanonized her, because the old believers were using her example that actually we should make the sign of the cross. How do they make it? With two fingers as opposed to three. So there's that. There was an actual act of church to actually decanonize someone. When it comes to faulty canonizations, at the theological seminary, a student asked a professor precisely about that issue, about a certain canonization in the Serbian church. I won't list the name of the man, but I think we've made a huge mistake in canonizing him. And if you're curious, it's not somebody you know. It's definitely not somebody you've ever heard of. And if you did, it's probably because of the controversy. So that person gets canonized. And somebody asks the professor, how could they canonize him? Because it was essentially one bishop canonization, no due diligence, as it were. And the professor said, well, in the end, we will find out in eschaton, in the end times, who's truly a saint and who's not. And the second thing, generally the cults to such saints die out eventually. And the primary example of that is Emperor Dusan the Terrible, of the medieval Serbian state. He's the only member of the Nemanjić dynasty who wasn't canonized. The claim goes that he wasn't canonized because of the three reasons: because he killed his own father, because he caused a major schism, because he simply decided that the archbishop of the local church will become the patriarch, and that's how we have the Serbian Patriarchate today. And the third reason was that he led the wars to conquer, so those weren't defensive wars. However, this claim isn't really all that true, because he was considered saint after he died. However, after, a couple of centuries, his cult completely disappeared. You still have him with a halo in a lot of monasteries, but nobody prays to him. He's not listed in the list of official Serbian saints, and so on. Generally, I believe that when oopsies like this happen, if there's ever a reform, as it were, it's not really posting on the church bulletin site, we do no longer consider this person a saint. It's simply like they're no longer printed in the calendars, and their feast is simply not celebrated anymore. And honestly, I believe that in a lot of these cases, those people generally aren't people that people are terrifically, devoted to, generally. Sometimes they're, as it were, political canonizations, but they're good. The primary examples are St. Seraphim of Sarov and St. John of Kronstadt. Both of them were sort of on the fast track to canonization because they were really loved by the royal family, and they were really canonized fast, unlike Rasputin, who wasn't, despite again being simply adored by the Tsar's family. And there you have the example of the Holy Spirit directly working, because Rasputin wasn't canonized and these two were, even though they could have sort of used their influence to canonize Rasputin. Then again, they were probably aware of the enormous controversy that would cause. And let's be honest, there were a lot of really ugly rumors going on around him, unlike really St. Seraphim and St. John, but especially St. Seraphim. I started off this video with saying two things. Yeah, regarding the validity. The one, it doesn't really influence anything with God. Simply canonization isn't it doesn't influence the state of that soul before God. If we accidentally canonize somebody who's not a saint, they won't magically become a saint. However, the validity from our side means that we won't sin if we venerate and pray to this person. If in such an extremely rare occurrence, our prayers to that person are not wasted. I am very of the opinion that our prayer is never wasted. If you pray for a person to get well and you don't know that they have already gotten well, the Lord will simply, forward that prayer to some other ill person. And in the end, the primary purpose of prayer is our union with Christ. So it wasn't wasted from the get-go, much less when it comes to results. So yeah, that's about it. I know that these videos tend to be more controversial ones, but I'm sorry, I've offered you facts about oopsies when it comes to canonizations. So deal with that. Bye.